Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is Science Fiction Spotlight, time travel movies. But at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, if possible, subscribe. Most importantly, leave comments below. Let me know about some of your favorite movies that have to do with time travel. Now, I decided I wanted to do some science fiction videos before the end of the month because in October I'm going to be concentrating mainly on horror. And instead of just going through like some of my favorite science fiction movies, I decided to change it up a little bit. And I decided to go through some science fiction tropes or, you know, just things that more or less originated from the science fiction realm, but have, of course, transcended to other genres. And I thought time travel would be a great way to start because time travel movies have been around forever, ever since the original novel from H.G. Wells, The Time Machine, which has been made into a movie itself a couple of times. Unfortunately, I do not own either. The original one from 1960 is a classic one. Soon I will be getting that, but I don't own it currently. But again, I decided, since time travel is such a big thing in science fiction movies, I would start there. And then as I was going into it, I realized, just like with the Westerns Reimagined video I did, just about how often science fiction themes transcend into other genres. So we're going to start in no particular order, but we are going to start with absolutely a classic involving time travel, James Cameron's The Terminator from 1984 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Biehn, and Linda Hamilton. And of course, this involves a killer robot and a hero being sent back in time. The robot is sent to assassinate, and the man is sent to protect the woman of the man who is going to lead the human resistance in the future before she even gets pregnant. And it's a great movie, and it's one of those movies that when you think about it, the lead character even says at the end of the movie, if you think about it too long, you'll go crazy. But it's such a great movie, and it incorporates the whole time travel aspect into the plot perfectly. So the first selection is The Terminator. And then we have 12 Monkeys from Terry Gilliam, starring Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt, Christopher Plummer, and Madeline Stowe, I should say, among others. I love this movie, and again, this involves time travel, a man being sent from the future after a pandemic has taken out 99% of the population to try to stop it. And again, this movie's terrific. It contains my favorite Bruce Willis performance and my favorite Brad Pitt performance ever. Both of them are fantastic in this movie, and the movie itself is great. So the second movie that on our list is 12 Monkeys. Then we're going old school. We're not doing time machines now. Now we're doing some movies that involve time travel having to do with space. And of course, you have to start with the classic Planet of the Apes from 1968. This one stars Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall, and Kim Hunter, of course. And this is the movie that started it all. And the twist on this is, yes, they do go 500 years in the future, thinking that they are on an alien planet populated by apes, and of course it turns out to be Earth itself. But excellent movie, classic, spawned the whole franchise that continues to this day, and again, incorporates the whole time travel into the plot very well. And then we've got a couple of very, very smart science fiction movies that have to do with time and space. The first is Interstellar from Christopher Nolan, starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, and Matt Damon, among others. And I know this movie is very hit and miss with a lot of people. Some people love it, some people hate it. It took me a long time to appreciate this movie for what it is. The ideas in this movie are just too big for my brain to handle, but it is. It's a really, really great movie once you actually get down to it. And it incorporates the whole time travel thing very, very delicately towards the end in a heartbreaking sequence. So Interstellar is the next selection. And along with those lines, we're going with Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker, among others. And just like Interstellar, this is a very intelligent movie. You got to use your brain to keep up with it. And the first time I saw it, I was underwhelmed, didn't quite grasp it. Upon repeated viewings, it's really, really, really effective. And it's a really great movie. Next, this is a awesome action flick, Looper. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, who did Knives Out, among others, starring Bruce Willis, Emily Blunt, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And yeah, this movie's phenomenal. Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt played the same character. In the time travel thing aspect, gets into it. I don't want to go into the whole plot now if you've never seen this movie, but this movie's awesome. So yeah, check out Looper if you've never seen it. And then we've got a couple of movies where it's not so much time travel as repeating the same day over and over and over. And the first one, of course, is Edge of Tomorrow, directed by Doug Liman, starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and the late, great Bill Paxton, among others. This movie's a blast. It is so much fun. Even people who don't like Tom Cruise like this movie, because it is just so much fun. And again, due to some sort of alien interference in this particular case, our character lives the same day over and over and over. Then we've got two similar movies. First is Deja Vu, directed by the late, great Tony Scott and starring Denzel Washington, Val Kilmer, among others. And again, this is a movie where, by using technology, a man is able to try to prevent a crime by going back to the same point in time over and over and over again. Very underrated Tony Scott film, very good. And similar to that movie is Source Code, directed by Duncan Jones and starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Michelle Monaghan, Vera Farmiga, and James Caviezel. Again, really, really good movie. And again, using technology for a man to go back at a certain point in time to try to prevent a terrorist attack. In this case, it's a bombing in Chicago. Great movie. And then we're going to go over to some comedies. And if we're talking about time travel comedies, we have to be talking about the Back to the Future films, starring Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, and directed by Robert Zemeckis. This is my trilogy Blu-ray. I'm not a huge fan of Part 2 or Part 3, but Part 1 is one of the greatest movies of the 80s, and it's one of the best time travel movies ever. It's just such a great movie. And speaking of 80s comedies dealing with time travel, how about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? This is part of my Bill and Ted collection, of course. And the third movie also deals with time travel. We're not really going to talk about that one too much. Face the music. We will be talking about Bogus Journey in the next installation of this series. But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was one of those unexpected pleasures. Nobody knew who Keanu Reeves was. Nobody knew who anybody was in this movie except for George Carlin. And this movie came out of nowhere, and it's a classic. It's a great, stupid movie that is much smarter than most people think. I love Bill and Ted. And then how about Time Bandits? Another Terry Gilliam film. This one involves a trove of dwarves, I guess. Sorry if I'm little people who kidnap a little boy and use a map to go through the portals of time to steal shit. And this movie's a lot of fun. It's got a great cast. Sean Connery, Michael Palin. I mean, so many people show up in this movie. I love Time Bandits. They made a series on Amazon that lasted all of a year. I have not watched a single episode of it because I heard it was god-awful. And then we're going to go a little bit different with Army of Darkness, a.k.a. Evil Dead 3. This is my Shout Factory 4K Blu-ray Steelbook, and the artwork on this is absolutely beautiful. How good is that? And again, completely ridiculous, silly movie having to do with our hero being sent back in time, back to the Middle Ages, medieval times, to fight Deadites. And again, totally ridiculous, absolutely hysterical. I love it. And then we got a couple of time travel superhero films. The first one from my X-Men collection is X-Men Days of Future Past. And out of all the X-Men movies that don't have Deadpool or Wolverine in the title, this one is probably my favorite. It's just such a great movie. It involves cast from both timelines of the X-Men universe, and it's just a lot of fun. So, X-Men Days of Future Past. And if we're talking about superhero time travel movies, of course, we have to talk about Avengers Endgame, which I know a lot of people are sick and tired of superhero movies, and quite honestly, so am I. But this movie's great, and I love the way that they incorporated all the earlier films into the plot, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So, Avengers Endgame. We're going to end it on this one. We started this video talking about H.G. Wells writing The Time Machine, which of course spawned this entire genre. So we're going to end this movie with Time After Time. From 1979, written and directed by Nicholas Meyer, and starring Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells, Mary Steenburgen, and the incredible David Warner as Jack the Ripper. This is one of my favorite films of the 70s. It was in my top 25 of the 70s, and I love this film so much. It has to do with H.G. Wells, the actual author, who creates his own time machine and wants to go into the future because he is convinced that the future is going to be utopia, where everybody lives in peace and harmony. Not knowing that one of his best friends is Jack the Ripper and is being chased by the police at the very beginning of the movie and jumps into the time machine and goes into the future. So H.G. Wells has to go into the machine and go after him to try to bring him back. And this movie is science fiction. It is a thriller. It is a comedy. But most of all, it is a romance. And I have never been a romance type guy, but this movie is awesome on every level. So if you've never seen Time After Time, or if you've never seen some of these other movies that I've included on this, please do so. They are very entertaining. They are all different, but they're all science fiction related, and they all have to do with time travel. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. Most importantly, leave comments below. Let me know what your favorite time travel movies are, and if you could recommend any that maybe I haven't seen. So until the next time, I hope everybody is having a great day, and we'll see you then.